Back in 1993, a family comedy arrived that made millions of people laugh and cry at the same time. Mrs. Doubtfire became one of the most beloved movies of the 90s. But the story behind it is even more crazy than the film itself. Instead of playing the role of Daniel Hillard like other actors, Robin Williams unleashed nonstop improv that forced the crew to shoot nearly 2 million feet of film just to keep up with his jokes. And who can forget the legendary melting cake scene, a total accident that Williams turned into comedy gold in seconds. But that's only the beginning. The film has a lot more secrets than even the biggest fans may know about. And today we're having a look at 15 crazy facts about Mrs. Doubtfire. Number 15. Robin Williams turned the set into a 2 million foot comedy explosion. Robin Williams brought his full comedic talent to every scene in Mrs. Doubtfire, and the crew had to keep the cameras rolling constantly, using up almost 2 million feet of film. It was an extraordinary amount for a movie in the 1990s, especially when film was costly and each extra take added to the budget. Yet, with Williams fully in character, turning off the cameras just wasn't possible. Williams would first deliver 3 to 4 takes exactly as written, sharp and professional, perfectly on cue, and then once director Chris Columbus had the safe version, he would give Williams the freedom to improv. Instead of repeating the same lines, Williams would create brand new jokes, voices, and reactions in every single take. Columbus often used 4 cameras at once to capture his unpredictable brilliance. And he didn't just film Robin Williams. He filmed the cast to get their genuine reactions while they struggled to not break character. Some scenes ran through 15 to 22 takes, not because anyone made mistakes, but because Robin simply refused to stop until he poured out every comedic idea in his mind. It was less like filming a movie and more like watching a live comedy performance on set. Meanwhile, the script supervisor had the impossible job of handwriting every improv line, frantically scribbling as Williams transformed the script into a launching pad for spontaneous comedy. Enough footage for 3 different cuts of the film, a PG, PG-13, and edgier R-rated version with more bold improv. And all of those alternate takes, and used jokes, and unseen comedic moments are safe in boxes of film that are stored in climate-controlled archives. Number 14. The melting mask was a total accident, and it became iconic. One of the most unforgettable scenes is the moment that Mrs. Doubtfire's frosting-covered face slowly melts under pressure. And that was never actually planned. The script called for Daniel to shove his face into a cake to hide the fact he wasn't wearing his prosthetic mask when the social worker unexpectedly arrived. Except that this was Robin Williams. And under the hot studio lights, the frosting began melting faster than anyone anticipated. It slid down his face, dripped off his chin, and turned what was supposed to be a quick disguise into a full-blown disaster. But then came a moment nobody could have written. A blob of icing plopped straight into the social worker's tea. Most actors would freeze. Williams didn't even blink. Still in character, he ad-libbed. "There you go. You've got your cream and sugar now." The line wasn't scripted. The gag wasn't rehearsed, and it was pure improv. Director Chris Columbus wisely kept the cameras rolling instead of cutting, and that spontaneous moment became one of the film's most quoted moments. Number 13. Robin Williams took Mrs. Doubtfire into the real world, and nobody noticed. Between shooting days, Robin Williams would walk around the city in full costume to see if anyone recognized him, but nobody did. The prosthetics were so convincing that his own son didn't even recognize him on set until he heard his unmistakable voice break through the makeup. However, he didn't stop at casual strolls. One of the most outrageous things he did off-set was walk into an adult store dressed completely as Mrs. Doubtfire. The wig, the glasses, and everything. And while there, he tried to buy what he later called a double-headed pleasure toy. The clerk was unaware that he was speaking to a Hollywood legend and tried to assist politely. It wasn't until Williams had dropped the accent and revealed himself that the clerk burst into laughter. Number 12. Lisa Jacob was expelled from school for starring in the film. Playing the role of Lydia had a real cost for Lisa Jacob. The Toronto ninth grader landed the major role in Mrs. Doubtfire at the age of 14 and worked with a tutor on set to complete her assignments and mailed her schoolwork back home while filming in California. She did everything she could to balance both Hollywood and homework. But her school didn't see things the same way. Even though her absences were for a big movie production, she later got a letter saying she couldn't come back because she had missed too many days and rules were the rules. She was devastated. And when Robin Williams found out, he stepped in personally writing a passionate letter to the school's principal urging him to reconsider and support her education rather than punish her for achieving something extraordinary. The principal still refused, and instead of welcoming her back, he reportedly framed Williams' letter and hung it in his office. Jacob never went back to that school and later revealed how painful it was to lose that sense of normal teenage life. Number 11. A Looney Tunes legend directed the opening cartoon. The opening scene of Mrs. Doubtfire was created with help from one of the most famous animators of all time. The cartoon featuring Pudgy the parakeet and Grunge the cat was designed by Chuck Jones, the genius behind characters like Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and the Roadrunner. Instead of starting the movie with a regular intro, director Chris Columbus wanted something creative, nostalgic, and unforgettable. But Jones didn't come alone. He assembled a powerhouse animation team that included veterans like Bill Littlejohn and Tom Ray, along with rising talent Eric Goldberg. The team created nearly 5 full minutes of cartoon footage, most of it ultimately cut, though extended versions later appeared as bonus material. The animated intro cleverly set up Daniel's character. And in the story, Daniel refuses to voice lines for the cartoon because Pudgy the parakeet is shown smoking a cigarette. His protest costs him his job, immediately establishing one key truth. He has strong morals, but terrible judgment. Number 10. The Mrs. Doubtfire transformation took over 4 hours every day. Becoming Mrs. Doubtfire was a daily endurance test for Robin Williams. The transformation process took 4 to 4.5 hours every single day. It involved 8 separate foam latex prosthetic pieces layered onto his face, carefully blended together like an intricate puzzle to create the illusion of an older Scottish nanny. After the prosthetics came the padding, the full bodysuit, wig, and multiple layers of stippled paint to give realistic skin texture and age spots. For most of the process, Williams had to sit with his head tilted back while makeup artists worked with intense precision. To keep him entertained, the crew even installed a television on the ceiling above his chair, so he could watch movies while the team did all of the work. The talented makeup team worked incredibly hard to make everything look real, and their efforts paid off when they won the 1994 Academy Award for Best Makeup. Williams was known to sweat heavily, and every seam of the prosthetics had to be perfectly sealed or the makeup would begin breaking down under the heat of the studio lights. He jokingly described wearing the full costume as feeling like being trapped inside of the world's largest condom. And on especially hot days, it would begin to soften, turning the transformation into a race against time. Number 9. The ending the studio wanted was completely different. The emotional ending of the film almost didn't exist in the way that audiences know today. The original screenwriter wrote the story with a realistic conclusion where Daniel and Miranda stay divorced, but learn to co-parent like mature adults. However, the studio pushed for a much more traditional Hollywood ending where the parents reconcile and the family reunites. That didn't sit well with the creative team. The actors and director, many of whom had experienced divorce in real life, believed the film should not suggest that separation automatically ends in reunion. Williams was especially firm on keeping the story authentic. The studio briefly brought in another writer to reshape the ending, but after resistance from the team, they reversed course and restored the original vision. That decision gave the film one of its strongest messages. Families change, relationships evolve, and love can still exist after divorce. The final scene, where Mrs. Doubtfire speaks directly to children about different types of families, only exists because the team fought to keep it emotionally honest. Number 8. Pierce Brosnan's character was originally meant to be the villain. At first, Stu was written as a much darker character. He was not only Miranda's new partner, but also someone actively working against Daniel, even wanting the children sent away so he could take full control of the family. But the director realized this made the story too simple. Mrs. Doubtfire was not meant to be about defeating a villain, but about a flawed father learning from his mistakes. So Stu was rewritten into a kind, patient, emotionally mature person who genuinely cared for the children. This change made Daniel's jealousy more complex, driven by insecurity rather than a clear enemy. In the final version, Stu is not stealing the family. He is simply a decent man. A few remnants of the earlier villain version remain in small scenes, but overall the character shift made the story far more grounded and emotional. Number 7. Robin Williams shut down filming so Sally Field could grieve. During filming of an emotional courtroom scene, Sally Field received the devastating news of her father's death. She tried to continue working, but Robin Williams noticed something was wrong. As both star and producer, he immediately stopped production and rescheduled filming so she could leave to be with her family. It was a quiet act of compassion that never made it into the film, but deeply affected everyone on set. Number 6. Mrs. Doubtfire was inspired by a real person in Edinburgh. The character traces back partly to a real Edinburgh shopkeeper known locally as Madame Doubtfire, who ran a cluttered second-hand shop full of cats and clothing. Writer and Fine was inspired by her and created the novel that became the basis for the film. Williams also drew from his own childhood influences, including his nanny, to shape the character. The real Madame Doubtfire passed away in 1979, never knowing her name would become globally famous. Number 5. Mrs. Doubtfire's look was designed to feel like a real grandmother. The goal was to make the disguise believable enough that audiences would forget it was a man in makeup. Designers studied hundreds of old photographs until they found the perfect reference image of a warm, grandmotherly face. Every detail of Mrs. Doubtfire's appearance was built from that inspiration, combined with prosthetic design and performance, creating a convincing illusion. Number 4. The cast could have been completely different, and so could the movie. Many actors were considered for Daniel, including several major Hollywood names. Early choices for Miranda also changed, with scheduling conflicts and casting decisions shaping the final team.